Alright, now the camera's working. It didn't want to work. Move the dumbbell. But now we're on. Now we're cooking with gasoline. What's with the lamp? Weird light. Actually, I don't need headphones. As you can see, sunny day. Oh yeah. Hey Frigadello. Yeah, I went live, but the camera didn't want to work. It happened recently. I don't know why, but hopefully now you'll see. Now it should be working. Stop that. Remove that. Switch that one on. Oh yeah. Let's see. I mean, we could stop that. Remove that. Switch sound off. We could do this. And can we do... a line. There. No. No. What the? What's happening? What the hell? I don't know what I'm doing. Shit. What's with the green box? Oh no. Oh no. What did I do? I don't get it. Shit. Why is that green box there? Damn it. Hello, Zealand. Novel's painting Kuru. You see my expertise here. It's what the fuck? Do I need to? All right, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Crazy. Okay, now I got it. You had to hold down. If you held down Alt and dragged the box, you cropped this area, and you didn't scale the area. Hey, Georg, welcome back. Glad to have you back. So, today is gonna be 2-week challenge feedback. But for a while, I'm gonna be kind of sketching around, waiting for people to drop in, and so on. I hope everyone had a fantastic day today. On my end of the world, the weather was fantastic. Like shorts and t-shirt, fantastic. 27-ish degrees, sunshine all day. It was really, really nice. So I hope if you had good weather that you seized the day, carpe diem, and went outside. And if you're inclined to do sketching, at least take in some vitamin D, as it's very good for the body, and just relax. That's what my goal of the day was, to just go for a walk in the forest, to go for a walk and look at some horses, enjoy the sunshine, have a beer or two, a nice cold beer. That's good. It was a good day. Had some fresh strawberries. Yes, it's important to relax. If you're gonna be able to work hard, you're gonna have to find solutions to calm yourself down. And if you don't, it's so easy to always be wound up. And one good indicator, if you're too stressed and not relaxed enough in between work or days of relaxation, is that when you do go on vacation after you're working and you go on vacation, and finally you have days off and you become ill, that is a clear sign that you're pushing yourself too hard, and you're like high intensity. And because the moment you relax, the immune system is not supported by adrenaline and stress, and your body starts to deal with the built up tension in the body, and you become ill. So it's a good sign that at those times you probably should, you shouldn't build up the tension to the point where you get ill as soon as you go on vacation. You need to find a stressor reliever. You need to be able to relax and find those calm moments in the everyday, or at least try to, where you just kick back and filter. It's really important. It's really important. My kids had ice cream. They were swinging on swings, throwing rocks in lakes, smelling flowers. It was a fantastic day. It's funny to see kids, especially your own kids, like enjoying life the way you remember, like with nostalgia, how it was to be a kid. And then you see them, just messing around, climbing an apple tree, calling for dad. Hey, dad, look at me. Look how high up I am. And, you have to react to that and say, wow, that's really cool. But actually, you're just like, how interesting is it to see someone up in an apple tree? I mean, you've done it millions of times as a kid. So that's an interesting point, to see it from that side. as an adult and as a kid. You remember how it was as a kid, how proud you were that you reached that third branch. It's funny. I was looking back at previous year, my warm-ups, and if you remember, recently I did this. On Friday, I did this comfort zone orc wizard by only painting um, the light and having these dark areas of the concept being suggestive. And I think it's really, really. I think um, what was I gonna say? It's a really great way of sketching, and sketching it in a style where it's easy to take it that next step, like develop it further. So that's what I think I want to do with this one, is just kind of start playing with um, like I did with the other warm-ups, like how do you adjust the light, adjust the colors, etc. Those kind of things. Oh yeah. That's fantastic, York. I've been trying to plant mango, but it doesn't want to grow. I'm doing something wrong with the seed. Obviously, I'm going to try to grow it indoors from store-bought mangoes, so I need to find the perfect seed, etc. Hey, Narada. Hey, Datatronic. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Glad to see you guys here. The circle is complete. I must say, I'm very happy of all you people, and how great our little community is, and the beginning of hopefully something really, really cool. Um, Time will tell how well I will manage it, but in my head, the next step, which I will talk more after I go to IFCC, which is a workshop. So when I come back, I think I'm going to be quite open about it and lay out the plans. At the moment, I just don't have time to do what I want to do, and I need to kind of think about it a little bit more in detail while I'm in Croatia. But when I get back, I'm gonna lay the cards on the table, what my plans are for a 30-minute warm-up and the next step. So hopefully you're as interested about it when I do tell as I'm hopeful of where to take it. Doesn't look right. This is not a new haircut. Well, I did cut my hair um, a week ago maybe, but it's more or less the same haircut as you can see on the icon there. There, this beautiful portrait. It's more or less the same. That's excellent, Datatronic. Thank you very much, Nareda. Regardless if it's new or old, but it's newly groomed, I guess. Hey, Novi is painting. You definitely need to. IFCC is a great place to make friends and networking and future-proofing your place in the industry. I think that's a really good thing about IFCC is that everyone is just happy and you make friends, and those friends 5 years down the line is going to give you work and you're going to give your friends work. Uh, Without a doubt. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Hmm. It is what it is. This thing. uh, you can't do that much with it. So one thing I want to play with, which I know is a mistake, is a use of grays in my painting. And I was thinking later, like, how do you get those nice rhythms of colors? So I thought, why not just do a selective color? I was thinking about that today when I was in the garden. Uh, like that would be just make a desaturation layer and then you just go in and put grays in. And all of a sudden, all the other colors get extra power. So that's what I wanted to say. You see how much redder it is? Now it's just everything is just red. But now that red is like, I never seen red as this. Not really, obviously, but yeah. Mhm. It worked. I can see, I can feel things moving in here. Hey, Sayart, welcome. I must say that IFCC is great. Yeah, IFCC is a great workshop. Every year, I think this is going to be my um, third or fourth, but it's really, really good. So I'm thinking maybe 20 more minutes. Fantastic apple juice, by the way. Um, Great. Um, yeah, and then I'm gonna do check the 2 week challenge. I see Kuru did a dump. Oh, God damn, Kuru. You've been hard at work. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 entries to go through. Yeah, 6 of them. Yep. Cool. So 20 more minutes of me rambling and doodling, and then we do business. Let's look at Kuru's dump. Oh, there it is. And there's that. All right, cool. Kimchi. I probably have once. But that's the food, right? Isn't like it's kind of noodle soup thing, kimchi. This is apple juice. Yeah, kimchi is tasty. I love kimchi. Okay, let's put on a timer. I the reason why I say that I am not drinking beer is my old art teacher. Uh, Apparently, I put on a 30-minute timer. So let's put it on a 30-minute timer. Um, Reason why I say I'm not drinking beer is that my art teacher from like high school, uh, she approached me on Facebook and she was like, "It's fantastic that you're helping. It's really exciting to see." And like you're, like not I'm gonna paraphrase, but it's like great teacher, etc., etc. But you're drinking beer on your streams, and I can't promote that to my students. Like, but she put it in words that like I'm just sitting and drinking beer all day and streaming art. Like I can't show my children at school that you're just drinking all day. That's not professional. That's like that way what she put it, so it came across that way, and I was like, no, no, no. It's just these extra streams at Saturday nights, like when I want to relax and have some fun with my community. That's when I have a beer or a glass of wine. and uh, if you go back to one of the extra streams, I'm drinking beer from a cup. That's because she was talking to me that week and saying like, "Oh no." But it made me think. You know, I know like EOP Poison. He's not very old. Um, you know, I'm 37. I should be able to have a beer or two. But if you I do see the issue, like if someone is being influenced by me and see me having a beer, you know you have to, I mean, I have to take responsibility about for my actions, as I choose to be live, and people do tune in, and you have to be considerate that not maybe everyone is able to filter information the same way as one would assume everyone would. I'm not talking about anyone in particular now, but in general, you have to be considerate, and that's why I choose not to just have I choose to drink apple juice. As an adult man, you definitely need to be able to make your own choices. But that, there's this choice of words in Swedish, that you do stuff in the living room, and the living room is like the public space, right? Um, you know, if you want to drink a beer, you don't need to do it in the living room. You go to a bar, or like that kind of way of thinking. It's the same here. I'm live on the internet. Anyone can join in, and if they think, oh, I need to drink beer to be able to do good art. That's not the right message. Beer is anything but uh, a helper for being creative. If anything, it dumbs you down and slows you down, makes it harder to create, if anything, you know. But it's a great way to, for me, to shed stress, which is not the best way to do it, but you know, what can you do? A nice cold beer on a hot day is a good thing. Hey, HD Frisk, how's it going? Um, Another fun thing, this painting, um, as you all probably know, I share, as soon as the warm-up stream is finished, I share the image on Facebook and on Twitter. This painting, this warm-up I did, uh, my old fourth grade art teacher uh, commented on it and also shared it, which is super cool. Um, my old teacher, he was a substitute teacher at the point in my life and all my other classmates where the teachers were giving up on us. We were very, you know, we were misbehaving. We were uh, classed as troubled children. You know, a little bit of the that cheesy American school movies, you know, where the hip teacher comes in and everybody starts dancing and doing rap battles, and all of a suddenly everyone are friends. That like super cheesy moment uh, happened with this substitute teacher, right? But I remember uh, we I think he was our fifth or sixth teacher um, in a year. Like we were like cycling teachers. They were teachers just gave up. We were horrible children. Um, and this teacher, he came in, and I clearly remember like one of the one of the first things he said when he came in. He came in, like into the classroom. The children were, you know, annoying when there's not a good teacher, and to keep everyone in check. Obviously, they take over, right? So he came in, didn't say anything, and he looked at us and he said, "You know, statistically, one of you will grow up and be gay." And all the children were like, "What? Whoa!" Started laughing and pointing fingers. And you know, I remember clearly, like, just by that statement, he was a cool guy. You know, like, he wasn't trying to come in and like muscle himself in or be the teacher person. You know, he clearly stated, like, he knows stuff we don't know, and we probably should listen to what he has to say. And I remember, like, just everyone stopped misbehaving. He just had this. My cat want to come in here. He just had this cool guy, cool teacher vibe to him. It was just this awesome guy, and he um, he also we had to have like project, and he said, let's make a medieval town out of like lollipop wood sticks, you know, these ice cream sticks, and wood and moss and shit. You know, we made a Viking town, like a little what are they called? not horizon, diorama. There we go, a diorama, and we made it, and all the parents came, like parent teacher night. They were like, "Oh, you're so good," and we got praise. And what the parents didn't know, uh, that this teacher had told us that if everyone is nice, like parent teacher night, that we will go and burn the Viking village after parent teacher night. So all the kids, especially all the boys, were like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we were super nice. We were like almost like suit and tie, like all proper. And all the parents were like, what's happening? All the boys are like super clean, no fighting, no nothing. And he had a lighter fluid and matches. We went out in the schoolyard, and we just like doused it in lighter fluid, and we lit it, and all the boys were like, yeah, yeah, it's burning, it's fire. Super hilarious. But that, that he was that kind of, he just had that, like, yeah, exactly, the burn. He had that touch, like that little sparkle in his eye. He knew how to talk to, especially to crazy boys, because the class was mostly just crazy boys. Um, and he had a huge impact, like, on my life due to that. Like, he knew how to teach in a subliminal way. Hey, Bazari, welcome. And he had that like character. Thank you very much, Bazari, for the follow. Thank you. Fantastic. And so one night, I think I was like 19. Um, he was my fourth to fifth. I had him for 2 years, and then they fired him, and all the kids were like, "What? He was like the best teacher ever." But he was a temporary teacher that they extended for 2 years. He was just supposed to be there for like 6 months. So they obviously had to let him go because he was just temporarily employed. We got a main teacher for the last year. It was like, ugh, whatever. Everyone was like reminiscing about this guy. He was Pelle. He was called Pelle. His name was Pelle. And I met him when I was 19, um, on a night bus from being out like in a bar drinking. And he had been also out in a bar with his friends, and we're also on the bus back because we were living in the same neighborhood, obviously, because he was my teacher, um, or childhood teacher. And I met him, and one of the comments he wrote on this orc shaman or wizard was that, I had forgotten it, but he mentioned that we had met on this bus, and I had said, "This is what I want to do," and I had shown him my sketchbook, like as a 19-year-old, yet to be in the industry. I only started to pursue this career as 24, so it was 5 years before I even thought about wanting, or took the step towards getting hired as a concept artist. And I showed him like, oh, this is like concept art. He had no idea. I mean, I didn't even know what concept art, and the rest of the world hardly knew what concept art was back then. I mean, this was 1999 when I met him on the bus. Feng Zhu more or less didn't have an internet persona. Who knew who Feng Zhu was? And like the main guy more or less was this guy called Dabi Aang, which is I think art director for Valve. I don't know if he works there anymore, but he was the his personal portfolio website had a forum, and that forum became Sigil, which is the birthplace for speed painting. It's where Craig Mullins hung out and did free tutorials and so on until everyone started copying him, and then he deleted everything. But at that time, like concept art was this wizard word, abstract thing that wasn't even understood. So I showed this guy, my old teacher, like this is what I want to do, and his recommendation was, like more or less like F it, just go and do it. And I think that like lingered. It spurred me on. I remember from that point, like really being interested in it, and like pushing myself and hanging out on open canvas and painting with all these madmen like Feng Zhu and Kekai Kutaki and all these household concept art names. It was fun stuff. Narada, yeah. That's the classic. That's the classic. That's not art. Mm. I doubt that it's that person have any understanding of the skill set required to paint digitally. No, but I have fond memories of this teacher. Big part of my life, as in understanding, um, in a way to like how to act. He had that, he had that special balance between teacher, friend, and what's it called? Not living by example, but not proving by example, but what's the word? Anyways, you understand what I'm trying to. The word eludes me. Lead by example, maybe. Yeah. Narrator, yeah. Kuro, well, that's the thing, right? I think that's the interesting thing about life. Like I can tell you now, as a 37-year-old, almost 40, that life is an interesting thing. You think you are an adult at 20, but you're far from it. But I think one of the most important things is that you live your life as a. Oh man, I hate always doing this, but yet again, it's going to be a part of my talk. I always segue to my lecture. It's crazy. But it's like one of my points in the talk is going to be that last slide of the talk is that you'll knowledge and your career and art is just a frame of the whole movie of your life, right? And a lot of people want to take that jump from frame 12. We all start at different frames, and they want to jump to the last frame of the movie. But what they don't understand is that you can't jump to the last frame of the movie because you don't know what the movie is about, right? right? So you have to improve on each frame of your career, each frame of your mind, each frame of your life, and making it like the best movie in a way that it's enjoyable, fun, exciting, emotional movie that you're a part of, right? If you're just like fucking grinding that art knowledge in your dungeon, that movie is not going to be that interesting to look at, you know. And it's so important to understand that like evolution of knowledge, evolution of career, evolution of life is that you can you can't jump to the last frame. You have to build that. You have to evolve it. You have to live it. And I think that's one of the like bigger picture realizations I have from being 37 is that it's easy to just want to get the quick fix, but you can never do it. You can only build and nourish and grow. Very, very deep talk today. It must be the sunshine. Silver Strangler. Yeah, I've been told that all of my life. I have as a younger person, I was like babyface, and I definitely don't look 37. I know that much. It's just it's all this fat. What can you do? Or the apple juice, yeah. I mean, 37 is definitely not young anymore. That's for sure. But also, I don't care about that. I know I'm 37. I'm happy I'm 37. But you should, yeah, like I said, your life is a movie, frame by frame, and especially knowledge. Uh, you need to like nourish it and grow it and learn, but also have fun. And one of the points I'm making about the frame and knowledge is that uh, the strength lies in iteration and pondering and breaking things down and understanding them and knowing that tomorrow you won't have the answer, you know, knowledge. But one of the like takeaway things I want with my lecture is that as long as you're aware of things, understanding that, all right, I should consider these things, I should keep these things in mind, I should be aware, will build forward, right? If you're just oblivious, like what's that saying? Ignorance is bliss, right? That if you're unaware, completely ignorant of anything, you don't have any problems because you're just in stasis of this zero zero input output stasis, right? Uh, that's why ignorance is bliss, but that's not useful. Selfish wrangler, yeah. But I mean, I'm a father as well. I got two kids. Which is an interesting thing in itself. Like I'm talking to you guys, I'm definitely not the normal father. You know, I'm not the dad that sits and reads the newspaper and smokes a pipe. I doubt that that father exists anymore. Definitely a generational gap, uh, but I'm definitely not the normal father. That's for sure. That's good, Zealand. I mean, it's good for you. You know that when you're 56, you're going to probably be inheriting some of those softer features. Some of the soft. Yeah, what can I do? I can't do nothing. It is what it is. This monkey suit is the way it looks. I'm just happy my wife loves me for what I look like. That's all I care about. If she's happy, I'm happy. You know, everyone says my wife looks like that Italian actress. What's her name? She has a couple of lookalikes. That woman in Day of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, this time loop movie. Kate, is it Kate? No, not Kate Winslet. No, I don't remember her name. And this Italian femme fatale, Monica Bellucci. She has a little bit of that as well. And then this Italian actress, I don't remember her name. She's in. She has like big eyes. I don't know. She has a. My wife has a cool features, unique features. So I'm happy that she finds this monkey suit good. Emily Blunt, there we go. Yeah. Hey, Mean Machine Rex, welcome. I think you've been once before. I remember the Rex part. Not sure about Mean Machine. Maybe it's not the same user. Kuru. Not a lot, really. I'm also not that person that asks for a lot. I'm quite happy with finding, being content with what's being delivered. Um, but I'm also that kind of person that, um, for example, um, this is gonna go a little bit dark for a moment, but people that commit suicide, I can't understand because for me, I always it's like if you don't like it, change it. You know, like you have all the options in the world to 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 do something different. Like if you don't like your life, sell absolutely everything you own, get that money, and go somewhere and use that money. You know? Oh, I hate this. I hate my life. Oh, let the fucking go to make a new one. You know? What stops you? Um, yeah, I never, you know, like if I don't like anything, I usually quickly alter it. So the life I'm living is the life I've generated. You know, like with art, I'm self-taught. Like I like doing things. I figure things out. This is the way I want to do it. You know, and that's it. And a lot of people complain about the state, but they also are not willing to change and switch things up. I know like there it's so easy for a lot of people to be complicit, not compliant, compliant, not complicit, compliant, and just kind of accept and just kind of be in osmosis with your negative situation and don't want to change it because it requires energy and effort. You know, for me, it's always like make a game plan, at least attempt to figure out the steps, and at least when you figure out step one, start building towards it, and then the rest, the rest will just start to function. And of course, usually it requires you to put some effort in, and that's with everything. It has to cost, you know, cost energy, cost willpower, cost sleep, whatever. But in the end, it's always if you keep on trucking. Oh man, I take that back. If you keep on fighting and trying, it's always going to be a solution. If you work smart and think about what you're doing. Man, it's super like self-reflective. What's it called? Inspirational self-improvement rant today. It's crazy. I'm just hearing myself. Just that's the last thing I want to do is come off as like I know the answer. That's definitely not what I'm trying to do. I'm just kind of ranting about my own uh, philosophy, I guess. My apologies. Yeah, Zillion. Yeah, definitely. Like suicide and stuff like that is a chemical, mostly chemically. You know, they have a mask of false chemical interactions in their body, and they can't. It's like a fog, I think. And in order to like, if they have a physically created depression, um, you have to remedy it with medicine or specific controlled diet. But if it's a thought process, if it's mind-driven depression, you can definitely unlearn it. But if it's a physical, chemical, you need intervention. Zealand, yeah, but that is like the whole like your the ending your life is the best solution for everyone is never. For me, like the biggest issue is that it's the cheap way out, right? You choose I don't want this experience anymore, right? So you end it, right? But what I hate about that is that everyone else left behind. It's like that's why I hate going to um, when they bury people, like when they're dead, right? And you go to the church, whatever, wherever you're going, and all the people are sad. That's what makes me sad. I'm not sad for the person who died. You know, they've died. That's it. You know, for them, that's over. At least, you know, whatever you subscribe to, if it's a life after death or you become a flower or a space monkey or whatever you subscribe to, I still exist here in this version and still experience the loss of that person, right? So that it's very, for me, very egoistic of someone wanting not to be around anymore. And we all have to suffer for it. I think that is I think it ending. I had a friend who killed himself. I have had death in my family, and I think Suicide is the cheap way out. I think you just give up. You know, it's selfish. Well, let's change topic. Not interesting. Um, Voice acting. Yeah, definitely. I've been a voice actor actually. I have recorded a whole game with. I was voice actor and I was throwing my voice for different factions. Um, this microphone is just a shitty web camera microphone, so you don't get the full range. But it's a funny one, funny voice. Yeah, I just noticed time is up. Thanks, Zealing. Let's um, let's have some more apple juice and look at the entries. Flow Wizard, you're new. Welcome, new person. I use a 27-inch Cintiq HD, and you see here, here's rant paper. I usually make notes of my rants or what to rant about in the mornings. Let's have a look. You see? This is a madman notes. There's no rhyme or reason. Upside down notes. Crazy. So here's a note, which I'm actually gonna add to my talk, is that the brain has two different versions of memory. It has implicit memory, which is long-term, deep, almost automatic memory. And it got explicit memory, which is conscious recall. And when you're in your comfort zone, your sweet spot in creating, you're in your implicit memory, which is the unconscious, deep-rooted, practiced, repeated, long-term memory, you know, like muscle memory, uh, reflex, etc. So one thing that throws you off of being in your sweet spot is you recollecting information. So whenever you want to be creative, I talk at IFCC, is that the less you think, the less you emote, or the more you emote and be reactive and being in the zone without recalling facts and recalling information, the more sweet spot you're going to be in. And I can definitely see that um, like Glenn Vilppu talk about doing poses first and emotional lines in gestures, and then taking that fast sketch back and then redrawing it and applying knowledge to the emotion. And the more exaggerated the line of the pose in your life drawing, uh, the because the more information you add, the tighter and the more realistic the pose is going to be. So if you're very what's it called? Not considerate, not pulled back. Uh, if the more careful you are with the pose of having it exact right without exaggeration and applying more facts or knowledge to it, it's going to be super straight and super stiff. So that was interesting to read today about implicit and explicit memory. Rant. Yet another rant. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know zillion. I don't know the word for it. Um, all right, let's check the 2 week challenge. Let's go to the top. Top, 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 top. Whoever did this. No, this. Sayart. Was a cool one. Let's see if I missed any. By the way, awesome that you guys were so. First of out the gate, Kuru and Sayart, you guys, and Laszlo or Babo220, you guys were like on it instantly. I can recognize the monster designer in you, right? I love the design monsters. Yeah, Mean Machine Rex. It's every Saturday, every second Saturday, I do a paint over stream, and where I set a topic, usually an open-ended topic, and you guys get 2 weeks to do a concept or illustration or interpretation of the topic. And after those 2 weeks, I do a paint over and do feedback. I go through all the entries. And if you want to join in, you're free to do it. Is on the Discord underneath the window. So just hit Discord, join the community. Here you see the Discord. So let me look at the 2 week challenge this time. This time was called, it's the 9th 2 week challenge, by the way. So it's called Monster Time. So the topic this 2 weeks were, don't be scared of the monsters, just look for them. Look to your left, to your right, under your bed, behind your dresser, in your closet, but never look up. She hates being seen. I mean, how cool isn't that, right? That is that's a really good open-ended. I got this comment or text from a writer forum, like two sentence horror story or something like that. So if you join the Discord, by the way, up there, hit the pin, and you will automatically go to the pinned message of the latest topic, so you don't need to like scroll up all the way. So let's see, let's scroll to the bottom and go bottom up, that right. So I'm gonna have to click open all of them, so please bear with me while I do this. I didn't have time to organize it because I came home from the garden kind of 20 minutes before the stream. Had to sort things out on the fly, but I'll go through them all, rest assured. Sorry about this. I should have really prepared, but it is what it is, right? Kuru, yeah, exactly. Right, so this is Kuru's work. Lovely, lovely Kuru. So apparently this is his lore. Wing size is controlled by body fluids. That's really cool. Actually, I was looking at a movie about what are they called? These red bugs with black dots, ladybugs, and how they kind of origami their wings into their shell. And there's definitely some fluids or something playing there. So that was a fun thing to see there. Effective weapon, deadly venom. Okay, certain death. Framia. Alright, cool stuff. Evolution of design. Cool, alright, we see the steps there. I'd say definitely the right kind of steps. If this is the natural process of the design, I'd say you simplify it a bit too much from this step to that step. But maybe you're saying that it's from slug to full grown. That's fair enough. So let's look at all the concepts first. Usually what I do is I kind of look at big picture, get an understanding of all the entries, especially looking at a portfolio range, you know, or in instance this, like this. All right. I must say, first of all, Koru, really, really good job. I love seeing the process from like 2-week challenge number 1, I think, or I don't know, but a big process, a good learning curve. Shape language and rhythm is definitely improving. So it's really, really good stuff. I think on all sketches, but 1 or 2, 3, there's some like anatomy issues, especially like this one. The size of the hands are way too large in relationship to all other body masses. Like the hand is bigger than the head, the hand is bigger than the torso. Only thing comparatively in size is the back body, and the issue with that, why I mentioned that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing with scale. The problem is the rhythm of the scale. Like your hands are grabbing so much attention that the rhythm of it throws off the whole character. So let's remove the hands, and you'll see like the rhythm changes instantly. Like we're starting to read things more as a whole. But the problem also is that the mass of this is quite big and it grabs quite a lot of attention comparatively to their other limbs. I mean, we could do the other way around. You know, now that we remove the hands, just for the sake of argument, fatten up some of these, and the rhythm will start being more homogeneous. But when you do have those hands, you know, it throws off the rhythm a little bit. I mean, it's great that you're playing with proportions, like you're mentioning, but it's more important to be aware of what decisions are you making and what does those changes do to the rhythm of the character, rhythm of the presentation, rhythm of the staging, right? So if you stage a character with the hands forward or whatever, and the hands are like 80% of the image, and then you see this little guy in the corner like that. That's a great thumbnail, by the way, for YouTube. That's not going to be that interesting. And it's all about, you know, what decisions are you going to make in order to dictate the personality or dictate the design and the reasoning. And also, she's a little bit like Egyptian. Like, yeah. You know? And she also had her hand. it's a little bit unfortunate accidents with posing and staging. But as a design, I think if we disregard those things, it's a pretty cool, pretty cool. I think this one has loads of potential, but the problem with this one is that I love the front body. I love the prongs, both primary, secondary, and tertiary, and whatever the fourth version is called, of the things on the body here. Really cool. I love the legs feel a bit too rounded. These kind of tarantula-like legs. I would like to see a little bit more structure. I think the body is cool. The horns are nice. The spear is cool. The chopped off head. The shields on her body. But if you think about it, if you boil that down to what you see rather than what you're implying, what you actually see is not enough with what you're implying. So she's a head chopper, right? But she doesn't have anything to chop heads with. She has a shield on her body towards the butt. You know, why does she just have one shield on her butt? Why does she have a chopped off head without a sword or a blade on her spear? You know, I like the wrapping. She has a skull, but the skull on her chest, I'm assuming it's a skull, is not the same size as the chopped off head, and the chopped off head is not the same size as her head. And a little bit of the staging when it comes to her upper body and her lower body, they kind of pancake a bit. It's hard to read, you know, because you're dwarfing the perspective a bit. I mean, if you're gonna chop off the head with like Zeolin suggested about the mandibles, have it visible, have them looking dangerous, have some blood dripping off them, maybe have blood dripping from the head to the mandibles, you know, help to sell the idea. I mean, I get it, what you're trying to say with what's there. She's hard to kill, she has an arrow in her body, she's wearing dead soldiers' shields, she has skulls, she chops off heads, but connect that one step further, like, again, part of my talk is going to be about how we connect function initially with what we see rather than shape three-dimensionality, light, volume, and then after that read in function. We always look at function first. That's how our mind works. Hey, Vulcan Fells, welcome. And function is we easily go to symbol, and we have learned ways of reading these symbols of, you know, like a toilet character, you know, the stick man, it's implied male until it's stated female with a skirt. And that we know that this is where men go, this is where women go to pee. But what it actually is far beyond what that actually means. But our brain goes, oh, toilet. And if you have, you know, you have to think a little bit further when you're doing these things in staging. But don't get me wrong, it's great concepts, just that one step further. I think this one is one of the absolute strongest one. I love the dead guy. I love how he has no emotion, he has no power, he's dead. Her pose is like spread out, like I'm gonna F you up. You know, he's definitely tried that he could, and he's the victim of it. The way she holds the spear is cool. I think the back um, venom thing, or the chompers in the back tail, could probably be a little bit more aggressive, probably uh, to the side, so it's not symmetrical, or some sort of kind of combat ready. I think one thing that ruins the concept is her face and neck. She has this massive structure, and then she has this super thin neck, and kind of like, hey, this smile, kind of. I don't know. It it feels awkward, you know. And also, her face is so far into the mass of the cowl or the hat. She should be like further, because now it's like in there. But it's a really cool concept. I think out of all of them that you explored, I think this has the most potential. This could be a really cool boss character if you push silhouette, if you push material, if you push posing, staging. It has tons of potential. I think this one um, is just messy, hard to read. Everything is pointing uh, in different directions. Um, I think the attributes to this design is pretty cool. Like she has a couple of swords, a couple of heads, a couple of pockets, but it's all just too messy. It doesn't read well. Um, there's some cool stuff in this one. I love the head design. There's too many uh, lines syncing up. It kind of nukes the whole concept, makes her feel unbalanced and sporadic. I think this is a cool idea. Her pose is a bit, her legs, because she stands with locked knees. She's upright, and by just making that decision, you're indicating innocence and being genuine, because she has nothing to hide. She's straight, and then the pose is all like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat your face," with all the arms and body. But she's like, you're contradicting it a little bit. So I think to remedy it, I would repose her legs, make it more like she's engaged in motion, and to try to think about the emotion of the character. I mean, she's like flirting almost in her face, while she, it's a bit weird. Fantastic apple juice, by the way. Um, yeah, but great explorations, definitely a step up. Good rhythm of value design. The shape designs are a step up as well. I think definitely this one's a keeper. Keep evolving this concept. Don't just try to fix it, but redraw it. Maybe like do a fill and start redoing the silhouette with line art, and clean it up and try to push it and try to evolve it, and then just redo it. But that has tons of potential. It's a really cool design, cool pose. Staging is really good. That's that. Next person. Oh yeah, that's one. Zeolin. Oh yeah. This is a really funny idea, by the way. The monster that masquerades as a ceiling. Super cool. Kuru, the concept where there was information was good. Um, the pose was okay, but the readability and cleanliness of the concept was good. I think the posing was a little bit. It was okay, but it could definitely be better. All the concept stuff with the idea and all these things are great. But like I mentioned, you have to think about presentation of those. You know, if it's poisonous tail, how can you highlight that? Layers, layers always. So I think this concept is super cool. One thing that I think is not needed is one thing that's weird is how the monster is staged. Is going away from the bed, right? So we're seeing the bed, and we're not like why should we care? The monster goes away from the bed. And this is, I can see that you're trying. You're trying to make texture, make light. One thing that's easily done is that you try to control everything a little bit too much. And one easy thing that not beginners, but people starting to figure things out is that they approach paintings quite almost like a recipe. Like light here, shadow there, form, and let's just render everything by that recipe. Here's a highlight, here's a shadow, all the forms treated the same way. A really good thing to remember while you're painting is it's called the squint test. I'm quite sure you heard of it. It's not anything amazing, revolutionary. It's like art class 101, squint, right? So you squint, you make the vision all fuzzy, and you look at the painting. Like looking at your painting, everything becomes one-dimensional or two-dimensional. There's no depth. There's no there's no sense of presentation, right? So one thing that I think you can benefit from, and which a lot of people can benefit from, is when you do your step-by-step like recipe painting, right? Approaching all the forms the same way, like a robot. That's fine, absolutely fine. But at some point, you have to take one step back and think, okay, where is the actually light source coming from? And we look at the painting, and we look at this leg here, right? The center of the light is hitting the leg there, right? And the terminator of the form is here. The same for this one. So these two, the light is consistent, right? But then we'll look at the body, and the center of the light hits there, and the terminator is just at the edge of the form, right? And here we have 2. And no real terminator. Well, we've got a couple, but the light is equal across the form, right? So, but here we got the terminator, light, light. So it's a little bit inconsistent. So that's the biggest thing when painting is to always have the guts to put things in shadow or put things in light, because the biggest challenge is have consistency in light, consistency in form, and staging your painting in a way where losing information is fine, because you authored your painting in a way where you're considering the light source and you're considering the form being staged in a way where you have the best description of it, right? So imagine a guy or a person like standing sideways, just standing there, right? And you light this person, so you have the light coming from us looking at the character, so the light is shining center mass towards our viewpoint, and that light is going to be so dead and it's going to kill all form, right? Obviously we can make that statement. So let's say we rotate the light 90 degrees, so the character is being hit by the light from the front. So all of a sudden we're seeing all these shapes from the front, right? That is also a good way to explain things. But the challenge is not to pose the guy dead from the side, right? So let's say we pose the guy leaning in and pointing the eureka finger up in the air, right? So he's like, yeah, I finally got the idea. But for whatever arbitrary reason, I chose to do that. And then we have the light coming down from the bottom right, where the intensity is the strongest, further down, and tapers off, falls off, further up we go. And maybe that hand catches more light because he's rotating his body, and all of a sudden the staging and the presentation becomes way more interesting. So to make this longer rant shorter, is that when you do pose your character and you do choose your light, make sure it's all keying together in the most beneficial end result, right? That's where thumbnailing comes into play. Studies of light direction, studies of poses, and so on. Because the more you think about it and question the posing, presentation, light, all these things, ideally towards the end you'll have a way stronger perception of like what you got to do. Hey, Just Folio, welcome. Nice to have you here. Oh, that's cool, Sofa Straggler. It's a cool idea. I think that would be a really nice touch. Is it zeolin or my mind eludes me. Who painted zeolin? That was a cool idea. I mean, to make that concept stronger, you know, have the arms connecting maybe, so that we can see is deliberately acting like a piece of wood. Um, yeah, so my long rant about light, I think what you got to do at some point is it's good to approach it recipe based at the beginning, you know, like where's the light coming from, where's all the lights doing, uh, you know, go through the checkbox, but also keep in mind the idea about cast shadows, um, you know, placement in the world, where's the light coming from, and also presentation, you know, like where's the, how can you, well, you know, how can you put the light in a scene, make a focal point, where can I leave out brush marks and soften them, versus where should the brush marks be hard and detailed and intense, you know, so that you create a uh, interesting rhythm. When if we think about the design, I think the design is pretty good. I think the shapes can be stronger, have a stronger rhythm to them, and by rhythm I mean big, medium, and small shapes in a composition where they read an interesting way. I think looking at your original, uh, it has pretty okay rhythm. You know, the back legs are fatter. There's the butt. There's the body. There's the thing. I think they could be enhanced. There's a little bit too much repetition. The same shape being replicated. Uh, so it's important to kind of have that shape language, that rhythm of shapes that is enticing to look at. Eric movie. Hey, how's it going? That's true, Zealand. Um, I mean, you could make it so that the monster definitely just carries a plank. That's fine, absolutely. I was just kind of keying into the moment, but absolutely, if you decide that the idea is that it carries the plank, you know, it's fine. But all in all, I think it's cool. I think if you know, if you want to make it creepy, you should always, you know, like try to have hands in the picture. You know, maybe long creepy legs, maybe it's drooling. You know, who knows? I'm going off key here a bit. But as a concept, I think it's really cool. Um, as a painting illustration, you could, you know, maybe have nail marks. You know, place it more in the situation. And I also think the perspective is slightly off. Um, Probably should be a little bit more like something like that. But probably even more. It's hard to say. I probably need to redraw it to make it correct. Because of the perspective, the vanishing point of the on the roof, like the vanishing point is over there somewhere. So the piece of wood needs to more or less go that way too. Something. Apple juice. It's a pretty cool one though. Good job. I think the idea is very unique, uh, very cool idea. Presentation is pretty good. Just small things, and also in general, what you should be careful of is rendering things with black in the shadows. Black and white light is very makes things dirty, and another thing, when painting and you sample your image, like sample the color. You're painting and you sample the color. One thing with Photoshop, it doesn't understand color theory and just goes by pixel value. So if you paint sample the pixel and paint sample the picture, it moves more and more towards neutral gray. So in order to maintain that, you gotta sample and try to make a conscious decision about, okay, I need to boost saturation at this point, so that you maintain the color saturation. Secondly, I think maybe the legs are quite gimp-like, very short. Maybe you want to have bigger legs, but that dictates a slightly different design. But the reasoning why I'm thinking that is because you have options to have more silhouette. But yeah, it's up to you. That's that. Good stuff. Let's scroll to. This is Sayart. He says he's not finished, but that's all for now. Okay. I think, Zealin, definitely it's a good idea that you want it compact, but what wouldn't be cooler if it's this massive monster, like holding on to a small plank, and he just waits for the moment where he can let go of the plank and like eat you. And if it's this little creature that can't do anything because it's just hiding behind a plank, who cares? So what would be cool is showing the capacity of the monster hiding behind the plank. That's a good learning lesson, though, Zealin. I think that function is great, but idea about it you have to pursue. I call it like 100%ing the idea. You have to pursue it to the point where if you add more, it's going to ruin the idea, and if you remove more from the idea, you're going to lessen the idea. So take that in consideration about your design. Like, what can you add to make the idea stronger versus what can you remove from the idea to make it stronger? Is this balancing act about, like that sweet spot of design and function and presentation? Babu 220, yeah, apple juice. More. All right, Sayart. You see, with Sayart, he does interesting things. Why is she only red and the monster only green, except the necklace which has red in it? Makes me think. And always Sayart somehow just screen captures his painting, and there's always this bar of old screen background. If you look back at all the other uh, paint over sessions of 2 week challenges, he has this junk data above his painting. I don't understand what he's doing. But it's art. That's what you get. All right. Joking aside, I think it's a cool idea. It has loads of impact. There's a couple of issues though. I'll try to kind of conjure them. So she's looking at the light, right? Well, actually, she's looking beyond the light. He's kind of looking at the light, right? And his hand is pointing over her head. And those fingers are pointing away. And on the vertical wood on the wall, having her back very vertical makes a line like that, and it's very. It reminds me of that Dare Bard painting about, I think it was 2 week challenge number 3, where he made this knight want to go over the castle wall with this balloon. And we had all these compositional lines directing away from the hot air balloon. The eyesight was confusing the image. He was cropped out of frame. The idea was great, but the execution was confusing the whole thing, right? So that being said, I think by adjusting certain things, like this change I'm doing now, I'm a little bit uncertain of, but let's raise her head. I think it'll work. It made sense. Let's copy this guy and let's tower him more over her. And his head, arm, no, 1 second. All right. His arm, I don't think it can be there. It has to be. A general rule of storytelling is either have a before or after the action. Never have it mid-action, because mid-action never translates correctly. You know, if you want to show that someone is eating, have him really, really hungry, like, oh, I want the food, like carrot, or like sitting like, oh, all full in his stomach with bones on the plate, right? You get that. But if you see a guy just eating a chicken wing, it's just a chicken wing. You don't understand how hungry that person is, or how long ago since the person ate last. So always have before or after the action. Never have mid action. So that being said, let's restage the monster. And let's not have this hand pointing away from the painting. I think, again, this is going to be, I'm going to attempt it, like a try of an idea. I don't know what it's going to look like, but first, apple juice. Having the hand go behind her and coming out here. Reason why is by having them like Kekai Kotake said, like about tangents. For those who don't know who Kekai Kotake is, he's the senior concept artist, or was, at Guild Wars 1 and 2. He worked at ArenaNet and so on. He's really, really good concept artist. And one of his comments about tangents or shapes like almost touching but don't touch, it's like the juvenile aspect of penis and vagina. Not my words, but his words. Of course, I try to clean them up a bit, but they're afraid of each other. It's like, no, and that's gonna be a horrible YouTube clip at some point. I'm quite sure of it. But what he said was, don't be afraid of intersecting them, overlap them, connect them with each other, like overlap volumes, have the narrative of the shapes come together. Again, I'm paraphrasing. So the reason why I put his hand behind her head on the shoulder is that we look at focal points, lamp, face, holy shit, fingers. Right? So instead of the hand pointing out of the picture, so we follow the fingers, because hands are always the support actors of the faces, right? So we see the faces, we look at the hands, what are the hands doing, because humans use their hands, right? And so we go instantly to hands. What's the action? And if the hands are just like doing this, pointing that way, while the character is looking, you have crossed messages. So by redirecting the intent of the back character, like looking down at her, maybe suggest iris, looking down at her, maybe even have drool coming of the teeth, really push the delivery of the nasty don't look at her comment. It really, really reestablishes the narrative. And okay, I can go with her red, monster green. That's cool. Ideally, I would see them interact more with colors, or have a neutral base. Secondly, have a stacked vertical lines in the background. Stiffens a painting quite significantly. And if you want to have stacked vertical lines, you either have to skew them or have asymmetrical light on them. You can't have symmetrical light on a extremely static background, because it's going to kill the composition. So you gotta have asymmetrical light on stacked volumes. Um, so that's my feedback. I could go in more details about colors and volume, and like Sayard has a very, again, like much like Zeolin, like recipe-based rendering. I would love to see some hue saturation shifts, some uh, attention to the Terminator and materials. Her hand is very much like the cloth of her jacket or shirt. Uh, one extra step, like pools of saturation in the bang, maybe. Just that extra spice. A little bit of maybe gray in the monster at the towards the other half of the Terminator. Terminator is the point of no return of light, right? That's why it's called Terminator. So if you have a volume, I wonder if this shows. Kinda. In this way, the Terminator is up here because it's being illuminated by the screen light. Um, but um, again, being illuminated by. Let's have it like that way. Doesn't work. But the Terminator is where the form turns into shadow, where the light can't swoop around the surface, right? That's why it's called a Terminator. And that's what I'm constantly referring to. Usually you put texture information or saturation at the edge of the Terminator. That's a good way to describe things. Zeolin, it's about thinking about the big picture. If you paint your painting by recipe, right? Shadows, light, volume, all these, like, I have to render everything perfectly, but you just stiffen everything up, right? One thing to remedy that is go wide at the beginning. So let's copy this to the side, right? So we could easily, if we would reproduce this painting, we could easily start, like red dress, green monster, right? That's the obvious way to approach it, right? And that way we have control of everything. We can say yellow light because of the lamp, yellow light because of the lamp, blue for the bounce light. That's very like recipe based, right? But what if we start at this point and we say we got the main actors placed compositionally as we wanted. Maybe I wouldn't do it exactly this, but in this composition, but whatever. It doesn't matter. But what if we start painting the painting at a wide range first, right? So we play with the color, how it bleeds into other forms. Maybe she has a little bit of green in the back of her head. The light. Let's play with the light a little bit. Let's put some of her into the candle. Um, so by going wide at the beginning, you already know what you want to get to, right? Because ideally you should have done a sketch before, or you should have done a study before, or you should have experimented before you start a painting. Right? Painting should be the very last thing you do. You have to do your sketches first, your thought process first, all these things before you even start painting, right? Because painting is the evolution, the last step of the evolution of your work. If you're going to start a project, you have to figure out what you want to do, what you want to say, how do you want to say it. So as you can see, I haven't done a single outline so far. You know, I'm still very loosely just kind of building the painting up, experimenting with edges, experimenting with where light's coming from, colors, and so on. That's far beyond recipe-based rendering, right? But one way to correct it is that when you have your very recipe-based painting, like your monster, for example, you go over it and paint it and try to push it and add layers and layer configurations and all these things in an attempt to push it to that towards that finishing line, right? I call it the last 5%. The last 5% you can never reach, but every time you try to finish a painting with atmospherics, materials, lighting, form, perspective, all these things collaborating, and you try to push them as far as you can, you just get closer to those last 5%. But you will never be able to do 100% perfect painting. But just try to reach those last 5% with all these things in how to make a staging or presentation of a painting the best way you can do it, and think about what does like candles do, how do they act in night, and tell a friend to switch off all the lights, take a candle and walk around in the room, and you just sit there and look at it like, wow, what does that candle do to the mirror? Or wow, look at the reflections on the floor. Those things you will never ever figure out. You have to see, learn, study, practice, comprehend. And that is the pursuit of the last 5% of a painting. That will just make every time you try to push it as far as possible, your paintings will be just better and better and better. And long rant short. That's it for Sayart and Zealin apparently. Let's see. I think we got two more. A Babo. Oh, three more. Babo, Nefaz, and Cameron. Yes. I will find you and I will thank you. The meme game is strong. Apple juice. All right. Let's look at bubbles. I think this is an awesome painting. It's really, really cool. I love the one-point perspective. I love the simplicity of the composition. But this is about like 100%ing the idea. Yeah, calm down. I'm thinking. Vulcanfels, absolutely, apple juice. Uh, right, so there's a couple of things that throws me off. Um, if you're gonna think about the idea, right? So she is through the wall, right? She's coming out of the wall. We see a jaw at the roof of the door, right? Um, Stacked information that kind of mirrors up, tuk 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 tuk, and then we have the face, and we got eyes, kinda on the peripheral of the face, four eyes. The biggest issue for me, right, is that if we do the squint test, we go teeth, face, the blue face. The rhythm of the presentation of the idea is kind of okay, but still I think it could be better. The problem is that we stop here this is our first stop at the teeth, and I don't think we need to do that to sell the idea, right? What I think we should do is look at her, what the story was about, right? But don't look at her. So let's say we have a jaw here, she's coming out of the wall, bending reality, but it ends at that point, right? She comes out, kind of tapers off into darkness, and then we see the rest perfectly. But think about the strength of this light source, right? It's illuminating her, it's illuminating the door frame, it's illuminating her tentacles. But it should also have bounce light, right? So we can play with temperature way more to indicate how form is turning. So let's say we have warmth a bit. I probably overdid it a little bit. I nuked the perspective slightly. But anyway, so we got her, and we could also have blue coming in, indicating how the form is turning. You could have highlights on the teeth. I think when you have stacked information that's repetitive, you really need to maintain a subtle variation and dynamics. Like the whole Keikai Kotaki penis in vagina thing. I really gotta come up with a better name, or I'll be banned from YouTube. How do you present the rhythm? How do you interact with the shapes? How do you make that more elaborate than just stacked information, tuk, 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 and nuking the interaction between them? Right? I'm not saying that you always have to make it elaborate and kind of octopus-like interaction, but be aware that stacking information neutralizes each part of the stacked information and makes that as an object as a whole. So switching off the layers, those arms, we don't see them separately, we see them as a mass. So by switching it up, you'll start to see them individually, by having asymmetry, by having dynamic interaction, subtle dynamic interaction between them, because the more unique interaction you have with them, the more attention they're going to grab, and the more of a focal point they're going to be. So it's like a balancing act of highlight, amount of light, overlap, and so on. Whew, all right, rant one. So we see her coming out of the wall, right? And her tentacles are coming at us. And I can see they're merging with the painting. But I think what would be cooler is having her arms being more a part of the painting. So she's kind of incepting the whole thing. Like you're suggesting on the tentacles here. And like, what would be cool is the tentacles of her merge with the wall in and out. And the reason why she's blue is showing, like she's of out of this world, right? So why not have segments of blue in the tentacle, um, that helps us navigate the painting, so that we look at the hue shift, the saturation, um, and we understand that it's a part of the narrative. Like she's coming through the wall. Um, and I think you could easily maybe make hints of a mouth up there. So we have her upper jaw, lower jaw, the emotions of the face. I think uh, could be different. Maybe she opens her mouth, showing teeth, or drooling, or some, a next step emotion. Um, maybe, what's it called? Third wall. It's the idea of breaching perspective, right? So let's say you have a painting, and the painting is inside the frame, but you extend the painting at one point of the painting outside the frame, and you're breaching the third wall, right? I think that's correct. Don't know. Anyways, my point being, uh, breaching the third wall, which is my completely maybe made up thing, is like she's isolated from the door frame. She's not interacting anymore, except that one tentacle, and there's a lot of focal point at the top, and the frame of the door frame is like the barrier almost. So that's what I'm saying. But actually, let me Google the third wall. Breaching the third wall. Hopefully, I'm not just full of bullshit. Fourth wall. All right. Fourth wall, not third wall. Uh, The fourth wall is a performance convention in which an invisible imagined wall separates actors from the audience. While the audience can see through this wall, the convention assumes the actors act as if they cannot. Right. So clearly, like the actors are within their world, and we are beyond that wall. We are the fourth wall, breaching beyond the fourth wall. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like she is not a part of the, in a way we are the fourth wall looking at the painting, but to help the maybe I was just full of bullshit. Exactly, Kilrathi. That's what Deadpool does. There we go. There we go. Deadpool does the fourth wall. Apple juice. Anyways, I think integrating the tentacles more into wall will help her feel like she's breaching the world, probably have it snaked more towards her. I think the pose of the girl is really cool. I think she's a little bit over noodled, especially with the amount of dark at places, amount of black at places. Um, she doesn't need to be so perfectly rendered. Um, her as a design, sorry, her as a design is secondary. The narrative is primary. Um, so you can easily hide a lot of her in light and highlight other parts of her because the way she's designed doesn't matter in the big picture. It's the communication between the parts of the painting. It's not the production design. So you could easily hide things. Um, the floor, I think it's a little bit, I would love to see some more material behavior in the wooden floor. It looks very matte and worn down. I have a wooden floor over 100 years old in my apartment, and they are quite reflective. They're shiny and treated. So one would usually, memory leak. One would usually have reflections, and it's also a good way to tie surfaces together by incorporating. Diesel punk? Yeah. I do diesel punk. I do all sorts of things. I am a Swiss Army knife. Um, but that being said, I think you've done a really cool idea. I love the whole like she's a part of the wall, don't look up thing. I think those subtle little changes will make your painting even stronger. So, I didn't do quite a lot. I think your painting is good as is. I could continue pushing the execution of the light. I could continue pushing like wall material. I could continue pushing light and so on. But I don't think it's necessary. I think you've been told the majority of the things missing, and then abstract or detract that from what's the word? Dilute? No, that is weakening. Abstraction? No, that is have it as a starting point. Oh god damn it, English. And just keep on building the painting. I think the painting as is really cool. It's just a little bit stiff. The narrative could be improved. The stiffness of the top, the tentacles, etc. Just keep on pushing it, and you really got something really nice. All right, I think it's time for it's the last one. Let's see, it's Cameron. No, two more. Cameron and Faz. I don't think either of them finished, but either way, let's go. Apple juice. All right. What was the name? Cameron? Cameron. Welcome, by the way. I think this is your first paint over. Awesome stuff. Um, by the way, I need to mention that I do these paint overs uh, reactionary. I don't look uh, I don't look beforehand and plan ahead what I'm going to say. I'm just looking at them and reacting. So sometimes I might act like an idiot. So bear with me. Uh, okay, there's some confusion in values. Again, if you go back to the squint test, if we squint test here, right, we're looking at we're looking at her, and we're looking at this. That's the primary things we're looking at when we do the squint test. And then secondary is the dead dude with T over here, and then we go like that. That's the second. Actually, this highlight here is the first, and then secondary is that. So that becomes a compositional error. So if you look at this neutrally and think about, all right, what is the point of this painting? So he obviously is recording, but he is looking up. We can see that clearly, you know. Obviously the interaction lies here. They are interacting with each other. She has a tentacle there, but she also has a tentacle there, but it goes behind his head, right? If you look at the values of the painting, we're looking vertically like that, and it kind of mushes everything together. So apple juice. I would redirect the attention, right? So I'd say the guy with the camera is secondary. The interaction, the tension is between her, right? She is looking at him. He is drinking. She has red eyes, red cup, red table, red cup, which makes me think she should have red. The Japanese name for it. I don't remember anymore. I worked on Shogun 2 Total War. I know the name of the geisha or the ceremonial garb, but not today. So she has red, 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 red. He is not red. He is brown and green. She is not red. He's recording red. It's okay. That narrative is settled. We got that sorted, right? Kimono, yes, but that kimono is the actual clothing. There's a name for the wrap, but I don't remember what it's called. So I would probably undo. I would tone him down, tone the wall down, because what he does is secondary, right? We want to see the strength of that interaction with between her and what looks like the dead guy. Oh man, my RAM is dying. Super slow for some reason. It's very non-reactive. So that's, wow, that's crazy. Horrible. Performance is extremely low. Never ever done before into this state. Crazy. Anyways, let me try to at least finish the last one. Oh no, we got one more after this. Anyway, so we got the narrative here, right? So he has drank her poison. She's still looking at him. He is dead. Got bounce light. Everything like that. Let's give some highlight on the tentacle and bring it to the forefront more. And on him, I'd say I'd probably give him some light from the inside coming out. Like I said, I'm heavy-handed when it comes to these changes, so I didn't say that today, but previous paint over, I'm not very subtle in my changes, but I'm doing them to make a point. So maybe they could have a candle. I don't really know if the ceremony involves candles, but for the sake of visual narrative, I'd say have some reason to have a focal point. And so that you can show her things coming in and out of shadow. Obi, yeah, sounds familiar. Yeah, so we got the should have the shadows more concrete, have the horizontal relationship between them established, like they're on the same line. Have the white of her probably fall back into shadow way more. We don't need to see her back as much as the front because the interaction of her back is arbitrary. We want to have that interaction where they meet each other. Make that part darker. And the main guy is secondary information. So if we do the squint test now, can have some moonlight on the door here, just to separate it from the background. So do the squint test now. Now we're at the focal point towards the desk and their interaction. and the guy with the camera is no longer primary focal point because of the background, etc., etc. Let's leave some of the highlight on the wall there, so we still swoop with the camera to the focal point. We'll probably have some light on his bangs, but also have him look of them. That would probably be my primary changes. And what I would also do is obviously color temperature. Intensity of the light and so on. Probably that way around. No. Yeah, whatever. So just more or less work on the focal point, work on the interaction between the characters, have guidelines through the painting. Her face, I mean, probably. I mean, looking at the original, it's non-existent. The eyes are the only thing connecting them together. Um, I still think the connection could be there, but I think the subtle red, the rhythm of the painting that way is works. I don't think we need to deliberately see absolutely everything of her. I think her being in shadow is a cool little hint of uncertainty. I think her there's a lot of work to be done with the tentacle or the arm, etc., and probably have a second one coming down, being whatever. There's lots of potential roads to go, but the biggest issue is definitely the composition with the values and guidelines through the painting. You know, like where are you looking? Which are the bearing lines? Like the ones that carries the painting. Which are the subtleties? Which are, you know. But I still haven't really have a good palette here. I find the palette lacking mood. Like it's very safe. The palette, it doesn't have any impact or accents. The palette is quite neutral, and I don't know. I would spend some more time just kind of balancing the choices of colors more. Probably boost the red, play with the blues and grays, but yeah, I don't. I feel like I should move on to the next one. Tilt is tricky, but it's a good one though. I like tilt in this instance. It worked quite well. Uh, let's go to Nefas. Oh yeah. I think this is Nefas' first one as well, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Apologies. Mhm. No, that's Kuru's. There we go. So I love this style. This style reminds me of like Pixar. Um, that being said, there are some issues with the painting. And I must say, overall, there's really nice elements in the painting. I love the overall story of it. I think there's case of zooming in too much. There's a case of being too careful. But there's definitely some nice narrative happening here. Okay, so if we look at the narrative as is, like that's being presented, right? So she's obviously hiding and kind of looking. In what way is she hiding? She's holding the pole with one hand, but not really holding. She's kind of doing like that. And the other hand is inside her shirt or dress. So she's not holding that either. So she's kind of like doing that on the pole while looking a little bit on this side. I think that is the indicator first that the idea is good, but the execution could be better. Second point of narrative is where she's looking. She's looking at the boy with a mustache and a monocle and a like 50s safari outfit. But he is looking to the like over there, depth wise, like there. He's looking. The bunny is looking the other way. The flashlight is pointing out of the frame, off the focal point, far out. And Kuru, yeah, rule of third is killing this image hard. And there's, I think I posted it on inspirational or useful links about that the rule of third is not something you should like slavishly follow, because composition is far more advanced than just rule of third. You know, split the image in a third, and in this instance, and what Pixar etc. are really great at is simplified complexity. Like I mentioned a long time ago on one of the streams, that what you used to be able to do is print or press print screen on a video and go into Photoshop and control paste the print screen, and you would get a print screen of your screen. You would then go to the video player, press play on the video player and go back to Photoshop, and Photoshop would play the movie inside of Photoshop. But what would be cool is that you could make a new layer and then paint on top of the movie, right? So you would have the movie playing, but you could draw anything you wanted on a layer above, and you could analyze the rule of third, compositional things, etc. And you could see it in real time how the director have been shooting the movie and in what guidelines they've been using. Super cool. I don't know if you still can do it, but you used to be able to do it at least. And I used to spend lots of time just print screening a movie on the player and then pasting it in Photoshop, pressing play on the movie, and then keep on doing compositional lines through the movie. Anyways, I love this painting. Is super cool. Definitely has the right mood to it. But like with everything, one thing that is obvious if you look at movies and if you look at the webcam, right? Like my lower half and this part of the painting is in shadow, right? But it never really goes to black because you can see my glove. Like my glove is obviously black, but it's not black. You can still see volume in there, right? You can see over here, this catches more light. And on the the game covers and my hair, there's subtle difference. There's grays involved, there's greens, purples. It's just not one value, right? So looking at the left side of the painting here, you can't use her blues because obvious reasons, because you want the focal point to her. But use grays in the dark parts, or greens or blues, to help lift the blackness of a painting. Because I can promise you that using black as a fog of war in RTS games, you can't see it, so it is just black emptiness. It's never good because it nukes the depth of a painting. There's no interest in the painting when it's just black. You have to have subtleties. You have to help guide the eye. Look at traditional painters. Look at classics. Look at the masters. It's just not black wash or black wash with white in it to subtly indicate form, like turning of form. If you look at all the old masters, they work every aspect of the painting, not just by recipe, but thinking about the scene as a whole. Where's the light coming from? Where should I put purple? Where should I put gray? Where does it need more complexity? Where can I simplify? It's a lot of brain power that's being used, which you gotta use in order to take your painting to that next step. Where's reflections, saturation, and it's very complicated, but also very simple. So let's do some quick changes to posing. So let's have her arm grabbing the pole naturally, but then having it sag because of she can't grip it, right? Let's have the gown be like that, but we can actually see her foot a little bit. and maybe the second foot. So she's kind of carefully sitting on the edge of her bed. So we get that action. Right, and also indication of form of light, right? So where's the light source over her? Maybe she's what's it called? Not bioluminescent. That is organic self glow. Not translucent. That's opacity. Anyways, she emits light herself. Multi-directional light. Because she's a ghost. Man, words. Where's that? Not translucency. Fluorescent. God damn it. Thank you, me Machine Rex. Fluorescent, but also there's a technical term, 3D term for it. But yeah, fluorescent. Fluorescent is fine enough. So she's kind of like glowing multi-directionally because she's a ghost. Indicate that in materials and placement in the world, so on. It's great that you put her light on the ground, but also you could maybe add reflections, showing that there's a shiny floor maybe. Help tie the spaces together a little bit better. Also, there's a mirror here. Maybe you could have the glow in the mirror in a subtle way and show that she has whatever prop things she has in there. Up the saturation a bit. You know, he can look where he's looking. I would probably have it more geared towards where he is looking rather than having the flashlight looking away. Lower the contrast on the bunny. And being more cohesive with the light source. If he is being lit by the bed light, he needs to be way more in shadow. Yeah, so she's kind of sitting there. Place her more in the world. Like I mentioned to the other people I did paint overs on, I can spend more time making this more complicated and more elaborate. But I think with the things I mentioned about like intensity of details, painting the colors, big picture, I think there's a red line going through all the feedback where people can improve on and learn from each other and listen to all the feedback. And there was a point in my career when I went to workshops and hearing feedback, and one guy saying, this is one guy that was giving a portfolio review, he stopped and said, "I'm looking around at all of you, and almost all of you are not taking notes. Like, why are you not taking notes about what you're hearing about someone else?" It could easily be applied to majority of people because I've done thousands of portfolio reviews, and most of the times the feedback is always the same. Focal point, narrative, design, you know. I don't want to sound bitter, but everyone has the same problems at some point. And usually everyone have the same issues, which you can pinpoint. Um, so it's an interesting thing, but I love this painting. It has a really straightforward narrative, super cute, uh, really cool. Nice to see your first entry. So thanks everyone for contributing. Um, After this stream, I'm gonna go and look at the next 2 week challenge and post it. I'm gonna try to find it and find some cool short story. Um, but thanks everyone for coming. I hope I'm not skipping anyone now. No, doesn't look like it. So thanks everyone for coming. Have a great evening. Kuru, no, there's always someone with another point of view. You can't be safe all the time. My pleasure, Vulcan fellas, and Kuru, and everyone else. All right, people, I'm gonna go and probably have another apple juice. Thanks everyone for coming, and have a great evening, good day, and see you Monday morning. All right.